Tucson Today, live with Robbie Reynolds, Saida Abbas, and meteorologist Shay Sorensen. News 4 Tucson Today.
Welcome back. It is 6:14 now. Taking a live look here at downtown Tucson from the Intermountain Center's building through our Storm Tracker 4 Skycam network. And start off with a look at your traffic and weather together with Storm Tracker 4 meteorologist Daniel McFarland, who's tracking a warm-up for us here happening this week. Daniel?
Yeah, so the warm-up I think is going to be the biggest story out there, Robbie, and I think everyone's just about ready for it, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think people are looking forward to having a little bit higher temperatures once we get to that afternoon portion of the day.
Yeah, because the last few afternoons out there have been improving, but we're still pretty chilly. I think if you were outside during the day last Thursday, if you remember, it was very windy, very cold, and we've slowly worked our way up to what will be the lower 60s yesterday. And what we're going to see is later on today is, of course, going to be the upper 60s. So that's going to be our first step into warming up. And we're going to be spending a lot of time in the 70s here over the next few days. Another takeaway I have is that it's going to be dry for now, but there is going to be that small rain chance trying to get here next week that we'll talk about in just a second. But let's go ahead and check outdoors at the Storm Tracker 4 Skycam network. Still dark out there, but we do have mostly clear conditions, and it's also still chilly. So I know we're looking at a warm up here, but it's not happening quite yet. So those heavy jackets are still going to be needed if you're going to be headed on outside, no matter where you are. It's going to be the afternoon that you're noticing the biggest change, at least for now. Upper 60s for a lot of the Tucson area, with a handful of spots getting caught up in the mid 60s areas like Saddlebrook, Coronado, Tucson, Sahuarita, likely around that 64 to 66 degree mark. Headed over towards Cochise County, that's going to be another spot where you're seeing probably the biggest difference between today and what you had over the weekend, with many of you expecting the low to mid 60s, and even spots like Sierra Vista and Douglas getting close to Tucson's temperature with the way it's shaping up to be. All right, so for the morning lows tomorrow, it is going to be comparable to today's, but I'd go ahead and add maybe 1 or 2 extra degrees for a low temperature with the way things are going. The reason why you're going to have such a big difference is because the air is really drying out, and that is going to allow the afternoons to get warmer, which should eventually drag up these low temperatures. But at least for tomorrow morning, heavier jackets still going to be needed if you're over there in Cochise or Graham County. And if you're in Tucson, I am still expecting around 40 for those lows. Now, as far as any cloud cover is concerned, there's just really not going to be a lot for today. The wind's not going to be too bad. That's also going to be good news. And this is all being driven by a pretty strong center of high pressure that's currently over Los Angeles and San Diego. That's going to be mainly staying put, but it is expected to shift a little bit closer towards Tucson. That will have an impact on our temperature over the next few days. So when it comes to, say, Wednesday or Thursday, that's going to be when we start to progress into the 70s a little bit. 72, 74, eventually up to about 76 degrees. Saturday, I wouldn't count as a really heavy wind day, but we are going to have occasional breezes as something to note ahead of the system arriving on Sunday. And as far as any rain's concerned during that time, it's mostly going to be light. Most of the system's going to give a lot of snow to areas like Tahoe and closer towards the Pacific Northwest. But for us here in southern Arizona, light rain, not really a huge temperature change after this either. It's just going to kind of send us back to normal as we get into next week.